Welcome to the It's Your Fate podcast. Conversations to guide your steps and light your path in deciding your definite major purpose. I'm your host, Lefford Fate.
Hey guys, this is Lefford Fate, and welcome to my very first episode of It's Your Fate podcast. I am excited to be here today, and I got my good friend Mike Saunders here. Hey, this is the dude that helped me start the whole process. He's the guy that helped me start with Correcting Corrections and Pathways to a Positive Mental Attitude, the book that we did with thought leaders from Napoleon Hill Foundation. I am super hyped. Welcome, Mike. What's up, bro?
Hey, Lefford, great to have this time to chat, and I'm so excited about being on the very first inaugural episode of your podcast. That is so awesome. Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of like
I'm so excited.
When we were talking about putting this together, it's like, man alive, it's like trying to catch grease lightning because you are just all over the place. I can only imagine what's going on in your brain 24 hours a day with all this stuff. And it's not scattered. You just have so much to give and serve the people that you work with. So I'm just so impressed with what you do.
Well, thank you, brother. I appreciate it. And to be honest, it's a long time coming, but you know I'm a man of faith, but it's right on time. And there's just so many things to do and to talk about. And I'll kick it off here. I mean, when it starts with the book Pathways to a Positive Mental Attitude, you look at, I finally got my definiteness of purpose and start moving towards that. And so as we went through the book, Pathways to a Positive Mental Attitude, once you have the definiteness of purpose, then you can start moving towards the life that you were created to do.
You know, I love the name of the podcast, It's Your Fate. I know that's kind of your tagline because of your last name, and it's so apropos because fate is destiny, and it really is your fate. It's someone that's listening to this. You know, Lefford is saying, it's your fate. It's not Lefford's fate. It's your fate. It's your decision. You need to make it happen. And so I love that whole mindset. I know that is what you tend to focus on your coaching and your teaching on, which is, you know, really pull yourself up by your bootstraps and quit crying in your milk. It's not your fault. It's not someone else's fault. Let's just get her done. Let's just move forward. So give me a little bit of background on what that methodology is regarding It's Your Fate. And then we'll move into kind of what are some things that you want the audience to understand when these episodes are coming up and what they can learn and how they should tune in and be able to learn from in their personal development.
Right. And you know, the It's Your Fate is just that. It is your fate, just like you described. The reality is, Mike, that things will happen to you in this world. It doesn't matter who your parents are. It doesn't matter who the president is. It doesn't matter what city that you live in. And I'll specifically talk to we that live in this country, I am 100% responsible for the outcome of our lives, not the beginning of our lives. We are not responsible for that, but it is our fate. We are the captains of our own soul. We're the masters of our own fate. And because of that, there are some techniques and there's some tools and there's some thought processes, I will say a mindset that can help you walk towards your greater good. And that's what I'm here for because, Mike, I've talked to you, you know my story like I know my story, but bottom line, I grew up in a little town in Georgia, and we didn't have much. My dad went to the 6th grade, my mom went to the 8th grade, and we didn't have a lot. But if not for going through this and gathering understanding and studying and working hard and getting mentors, I could be right there where I started. But realizing that it's my fate, I had to put in work, and I had to learn because, again, I didn't do this by myself. Success leaves clues, so I followed people. I followed coaches and mentors and teachers and military leaders that helped me move from where I was to where I am now. And my purpose for this It's Your Fate podcast and other books and programs that I have is to help people start from where they are and move towards to where they want to be.
You know, you mentioned your beginnings, we could probably spend 4.5 hours on just that one aspect. then you mentioned your military, and we could spend another 4.5 hours on just that. But here's one thing that I want to tie the thread between those two. Whenever you see someone that is just looks like this, just too good to be true, they've got the perfect everything, hair, clothes, car, everything, right? Trust fund, whatever the case is. And then they're like, hey, I can help you with something. You're like, really? But here comes someone, whenever you see one of these people that you may look up to, let's not even use certain words that would describe them like guru or mentor. Let's just say someone that you feel like you really resonate with, and they come from a background like yours, and they've learned some hard lessons, and you know what? Oops, they made a mistake, and they've messed up in some ways, but they learn from it. To me, that feels very real, and I've heard it said, real is rare. So speak a little bit about why this It's Your Fate and the moving forward aspect is so relevant based on what you've learned from in your past.
Well, bottom line, there's two things. Like I said, the cool thing about this whole podcast, Mike, is that I'm going to walk people through a process with me that I've discovered over my life. We're talking 31 years in the military. Since then, 7 years since I've been out, that I've led at all different kind of levels, understanding that I've made mistakes and I've gone through the fire. And my goal with the podcast is to let my long road be people's shortcut. But I will promise you, and this may be something that people don't want to hear, but I'll tell you anyway, it is hard work. It is the grind. It is a decision. So I don't teach get rich quick because I don't know how to do that. Yeah. I'm not going to teach how to be happy in 5 steps because I don't know how to do that. What I know how to do is earn my stripes. Yeah. And that is a part. And it comes from making a decision, reaching out, finding people, becoming parts of communities like this podcast community to help you go from there to here, wherever you want to be. And so let's back up. Just a philosophy. One of the things I teach is a for real philosophy. What is your philosophy? Develop relationships, equip yourself, have the right attitude, and learn how to lead yourself. And then that is a process. That is a process. Just success leaves clues. So figure out what you can do to go from here to wherever you want to go. The book, and let me back up and stop me because you know how I get. The 17 principles of Napoleon Hill that we wrote the book on Pathways to a Positive Mental Attitude. What I'll do in the next 17 weeks of this podcast is walk people through that process so they'll get to know me, get to know what I've done, get to know themselves, and figure out how they can walk that path. And each week there will be a principle. And the cool thing, Mike, and guys, I got to be honest, Mike Saunders helped me so much to get through this process. I had a definiteness of purpose, but I got a leader and I got a mentor in this man who helped me put that thing together in something that could be received by other people. Because if you listen to me now, you know I can go all over the place. So with a definiteness of purpose and a definite pathway, I can help you get there and I can walk you that path. This is what Mike did to me. So these 17 principles that you'll hear coming over the next 17 weeks, definiteness of purpose. What do you want in your life? What do you want to do? What do you want to be? Then we talk about a mastermind alliance, kind of like what we're doing here. 2 or more people coming together towards a definite purpose, then you can make that happen. We'll talk a little bit about applied faith and, faith and action. Mm-hmm. A lot of people have faith. They believe in things, but they're not doing anything with it. How to go the extra mile. The extra mile is, many people don't even go the first mile. Yeah. But how if you go the extra mile in everything you do, then you can you'll do so many things for so many people. And with the law of compensation, you will get more than you ever put in. The importance of pleasing personality. That's another one that we'll talk about, and why it's important to be nice. Not only to say nice things, but to just be a nice person. Mike, and I'll say this to you, and it sounds like it's a love fest here, but the reality is I work with you. I do. I work with you not only because you're a professional, which was really important, but let's face it, there are a lot of very professional people out there. Yeah. But when you're professional, you have a pleasing personality, you're helpful, and you're likable, that is very important. So we'll talk on why that's important to people, because again, people don't follow you. John Maxwell said this, and it was perfect the way he said it. People don't care what you know until they know how much you care.
Yeah.
And so that's important. Having a positive mental attitude, being enthusiastic, having good self-discipline. We'll go on to talk about accurate thinking, controlled thinking, how to develop your team. I asked this question on a recent Facebook post. Who are the 5 people you're hanging with? Who's your team? And we'll be talking about teamwork and why teamwork makes the dream work. We'll discuss adversity and defeat, how there's a seed of equivalent benefit in every negative. Anything that goes wrong, if we take the time to look for that seed of benefit, we can not only survive it, but we can thrive through it. Talk about creative vision, which is imagination, how you can use your imagination to grow, develop. I was listening to a podcast this morning that had Steve Harvey on there, and he talked about how the Creator gives you an imagination so you can seek your own destiny, your own fate, not have to fall in behind someone else. But He's given all of us a gift, but we have to imagine it. And it's just an amazing. That's going to be a great one. That would be the one that we want to put on a calendar to make sure you're there.
Yeah.
How about sound health and why your health is important? You can have. This is what they say. I'm going to use one of my daddy's comments. You know, people spend their whole life chasing money. They get the money, and then they spend all that money chasing their health. Sound health is hugely important. And that's another one we'll be talking about on week 15. Week 16, we'll talk about budgeting time and money. And finally, our habit. First, we develop our habits, and then our habits develop us. And then that'll be a 17-week process where we'll be walking people through the pathways to a positive mental attitude, which will take them to their success, which will take them to their fate. So this bro, there's so many things that's coming with this podcast. And I'm going to take a breath and let you ask a question.
Yeah, I mean, I love how you laid all that out, because that really is the outline of the book, number one, the whole Napoleon Hill methodology and principles.
Yes.
It's spectacular. And I want to draw attention to the Steve Harvey comment that you made and tie it into how just succinct the description of your podcast is. I'm going to read it, and then I'm going to draw out some truths that I feel are just so precise. You have said that this podcast is conversations to guide and light your path in deciding your definite major purpose. You've met your fate. Now let's walk in your destiny. So a couple things that jump out at me is guide and light. I think that we all like to learn, but we all don't like to be pushed. If someone tells you to do something and gives you an order, the tendency, unless you're in the military, but the tendency is to kind of push back, like, hold up. But if I am being guided by something and shown a path, that should draw me to want to do that. So I love how you worded this. Conversations and episodes to guide and light. Ooh, yeah, show me the way. Light my path. Guide me. Don't chastise me. Guide me. And then deciding. Wow, there's a huge, we could do 19 episodes on the word deciding, but deciding your definite major purpose. And then you don't just decide it, because guess what? Knowledge is power. Knowledge is potential power. You got to do something with that knowledge. So once you decide that definite major purpose, walk in your destiny. Bam, do something with it. So I just want you to kind of talk a little bit through those points there, because I think that is, a lot of people say, oh yeah, here's the description of our show, and it sounds all good and fluffy and resonates in your ears, but man, there's a lot to that statement. There's some expertise and years of wisdom in that.
Yeah, well, let me go first on this whole guide thing. There's a difference between a travel agent and a travel guide.
Yeah.
A travel agent, gives you you buy a ticket, give you a ticket, and points you in that right direction. A travel guide takes you where they've already been.
Oh, yeah.
I've cannot say that I've had, with the silver spoon in my mouth, had an easy life. I've been through some trials and tribulations, and I grew through that. I've learned some hard lessons. I've had people come into my life to, sometimes when I was sitting on the side, I've had people come alongside me and lift me up. There's also been times that I've been that leaning post for somebody else. Mm-hmm. So kind of been there, done that, and I want to guide people. The other part is we talked about lighting a lamp. A lamp is a thing that brings light so people can see their way to the right direction. And a light is, so they have vision so they can actually see. I had a boss one time, Lieutenant Colonel James Dickerson, and he said, never paint somebody into a corner, but you can shine the light in the corner so they can see where they're going. And that's what this podcast is going to be. Again, not telling anybody what to do, but to be there with them, to be a guide and to be a light unto their path. Because I think that's what, brother, I think once you get to a certain point in your life, that is our covenant with our brothers and sisters. But also that's our direction as a leader, is to help people and to guide them, not make them do anything, but to help them do it so they can do it themselves. As you said so wonderfully at the beginning, it is your fate, not mine. And so if I help you decide which way you go, and then I can help you along your path, you can get there and feel good about that you did it with help, but you did it. So that's my thoughts on that.
I love it, and you kind of take ownership, because, for instance, if you were mandated to do something and it was a little bit against your will, and you're like, okay, I'm going to do it, check the box, done. Okay, here. You didn't really engage with that. You felt pushed, and it really wasn't yours. So I think your explanation there is so great, because when you are being able to be guided and shown some options in some ways and go, hey, totally your call, but let me tell you what happened to me when I made decisions like this, or let me tell you some examples of, but here's some pieces of advice. Now people can internalize that and go, you know what, I'm gonna make this choice and this decision, and it becomes their choice, and then it stays with them. Kind of like if somebody wanted to gain 20 pounds or lose 20 pounds, if you do it in 2 weeks, it might not stick. You might go back to where you were, but if you make a lifestyle change, that's what's gonna be there for the long term.
Exactly. And one thing, Mike, for me, this is truth, and this is my concern, because a lot of people don't get this part. I think that every one of us, in the sound of our voices, actually has the answer within them.
Yeah.
And we're going to reveal that answer or remind you. It's not something that I have to put in you, because I think it's already there. And I'm looking so forward to this podcast, because we're going to be encouraging people. And that's the greatest thing out there. This isn't off script at all. My passion for the military, and I have to admit, I spent my whole adult life from 17 on to 48 years old in the United States Air Force. And in 2019, it's been a sad time in our nation's history, in our Air Force history. More American airmen have died by suicide than in combat. And a guy that worked under me, he was a young airman that had a traumatic brain injury. I just found out this morning. My wife called me and said, he actually ended up taking his life. Right? And I wish I could have been there. I can't take responsibility for it, but I wish I could have been there, because what I would have said is, hold on, keep your eyes on the prize. We can discover an answer, because the answer is within you. I think we just need to encourage each other and to talk through things and help people find who they really are. And that is one of the main purposes of this podcast, to help people look inside, have a guide to go with them and through them, and know that somebody's always there for them. So this means a lot to me, and I think, because I've listened to many podcasts, and I recognize that this is a powerful vehicle to help people. And I'm looking so forward to it, my brother.
I am too. I want to kind of wrap up with this thought. Everyone listening to this right now should go to Amazon and put in the search bar Pathway to a Positive Mental Attitude and find that book that Lefford wrote. And I want to just talk about the cover for a moment because I love imagery and I love what it means behind that. It's kind of, I'm not into art, like you see those movies where people are standing in front of art. They're like, wow, I see. And I'm like, it just looks like a blob of paint to me. So I'm not that. But I love this book cover because it's this big mountain. And here's two people on this path and they're getting ready to walk up the mountain. They got backpacks. And here's a picture of Lefford. So it's like, okay, here's this guide. But there's these 17 points of light winding their way up this mountain. And up at the top of the mountain is the summit. And then it looks like a sunrise. So it's like, here's the pinnacle to success, and it's not one straight line up. It's these windy roads, and that's what life does to us, right? You don't achieve success with A, B, C, and done. It is like up 1, back 4, up 2, back 1. That's the way life is. So I love this cover. So talk a little bit more about just what that pathway and the guiding lights and the lamps and the switchbacks would mean to that achieving that pinnacle of success.
Lots of things. It's going to be work. There needs to be, you need to have someone with you on your way that can lift and lean, and you can do the same thing for. It is up, down, sideways. Like you said, it's not a straight path. And I say that to say this. You have failed. We've all failed. But just because you fail doesn't mean a person is a failure. It means that they're growing their muscles as they climb this path. And as long as you're breathing, you're pressing on. And it's worth it to keep climbing. So the picture is amazing. It's beautiful, but it shows a sign that we can grow to our greatest potential. And it is our fate. It is no kidding. I think we're all destined to greatness in our own way. And if you're deliberate about it, if you're willing to put on the backpack, if you're willing to put on your running, your hiking, your walking, your crawling shoes, and you're never going to give up, and you put the right people in your path, you put the right people on your team, you can achieve all you want. And it's worth it. And sometimes you get really tired. I don't know if you've ever run a long, hard race, Mike.
Nope.
I said, nope, I ain't going to do it. But when you finish, when you get to the end of it, you've lived full.
Yeah.
You've lived full out. And I think that's the purpose of life. So, and I say this again, the stuff that you go through, just because you're not going in a straight line, when you become deliberate, if you keep climbing, you can get there. And if you will join me on this path, I will walk with you. Sometimes we'll run, sometimes we'll crawl, but at the end of the day, you will get out of life what you're willing to put in life. And that is bottom line. From the way
Lefford, I couldn't be more excited for this podcast. I'm going to be going along the journey with you and listening to everyone, and I'm just excited to learn along with everyone else. So thank you for all you do, and thank you for what's to come with this podcast.
Hey, roger that, brother. Again, thank you so much, Mike. I will say I am the people that I spend time with, and I've been blessed to spend time with you. I look forward to bringing back on this call because, again, without you, I would not be here today in this spot. So thanks, brother. God bless you, and I love you.
Thank you, my friend.
You've been listening to the It's Your Fate podcast. To connect with me and pick up a copy of one of my books, please visit www.leffordfate.com. That's leffordfate.com. You've met your fate. Now let's walk into your destiny.